So, I wanted to begin this one by bringing up a fun little analogy that I think illustrates what we do in these meditations really well. I saw Mike just put on his glasses, and Kim had some digital glasses on a moment ago. Oh, and how fun Rebecca has some on. But I have a pair of my own. And these are glasses I use specifically for this analogy. Because what we do in this meditation is kind of like recognizing all thoughts, images, and memories as a type of orange tinted glasses through which we view life and ourselves through. And so what we attempt to do is sort of objectify these thoughts, images, and memories at first, and then not push them away or vilify them or call them something bad, but just begin to recognize, oh, these are an indirect reference to our experience. And so instead of referring to something indirect to get knowledge about our life, we're going to begin to remove the glasses and see and experience life directly. Or to say that in other words, without referring to thoughts, images, or memories, without referring to the orange tinted glasses. So we do that in a variety of different ways. In a lot of past sessions, we have done that through emotion instead of using thought, images, or memory to either understand emotion or to know what emotion is. We just don't refer at all to thoughts, images, or memory and experience emotion directly, because it's a whole different experience to experience an emotion without thoughts, images, or memory. So you can apply that same framework to anything. Lately, we've been applying that to our senses. And that'll be the route that we're going to go down today. Hi, Evangeline. So good to see you. Glad you could make it. Perfect timing. Okay, so perhaps we will begin. If you have any extraneous devices, probably a good idea to mute it so you're not disturbed on your end of things. And of course, everyone keep their microphones muted. All right, here we go. So let's get comfortable. And when you're ready, close your eyes. I'll be closing mine too. Now, the very first thing to do, if we're interested in becoming more centered, if and when our eyes are open, or if we're interested in meditating, if and when our eyes are closed, is to simply notice what's already here, what's already happening. And this doesn't imply a conceptual noticing of what's already here, of what's already happening. It doesn't imply a conceptual story, but rather we could refer to it as objectifying all parts of our experience as something else meaning other than you, that can be noticed. Most obviously, this could be our body, but because the direct experience isn't really the body is kind of a conceptual word for the direct experience. Perhaps a more direct word could be sensation. Another aspect, other than sensation, if our eyes are closed, could be sound. We might also notice emotion. And of course, we can't leave out thought. But it's important to note that in order to recognize what's already here and already happening, we're not referring to the content of a thought, but rather noticing thought as an object, something other than myself that can be noticed. And in this way, what is the most consistent element of our direct experience that can be noticed is sensation. Because sound is intermittent. Thoughts are intermittent. Therefore, sensation can kind of become a grounding point. And whatever arises around this grounding point of sensation, be it sound or a thought or an image, we just continue to notice all of these things as objects that in the moment they're here are already here, already happening. And it can be important to ask ourselves the question, now that I'm already here and already happening, how could I be something that I am aware of? If I am aware of sound, how could I be a sound? How could I be an object, something other than myself, if I am aware of it? Similarly with sensation, if I am aware of the object of sensation, how could I be something that's other than me, of which I'm being aware of? And similarly with thought, if I am aware of a thought, how could I be an object of thought, something other than myself that I am aware of? What is this that's being aware? We ask the question not to get an answer, necessarily, but to direct ourselves to the experience of being aware, to direct ourselves to ourself. Which, finding ourself is a little bit like an eyeball finding itself. It is nothing that it can be aware of. The only way the eyeball finds itself is by recognizing that it is what's being aware of the objects, of something else. As is true with ourselves. We cannot locate ourselves in the traditional way we would locate something, because we ourselves is what's being aware of things. So we ask the question, what is it that's being aware? can ask ourselves a contemplative question. Without referring to a thought, image, or memory, can an edge be found to this awareness that I am? Without referring to a thought, image, or memory in any way whatsoever, can an edge be discerned? Can a boundary be found? Of this pure awareness that I am? Or is it infinite? Without referring to a thought, image, or memory, to make that which is infinite finite. What are other words that we have for this infinity? Perhaps pure consciousness, infinite intelligence, the source, the divine. These no longer need to be concepts, as this is the direct experience. This is you. Now, it's helpful to not only know this infinite awareness as that of which is other than the objects of our life. So, let's go back into the objects of our experience and begin to explore them. Let's start with a sound. If we happen to hear a sound, perhaps for simplicity, we'll say a bird chirping. If we wanted to know life, such as a bird chirping, we wouldn't refer to indirect knowledge of it, to know about it. If we wanted to know life, we would go to the direct experience. We would go to the sound itself. Instead of referring to indirect knowledge in order to know the sound, such as a thought, labeling the sound as a bird, we would go to the experience itself, the sound itself. Again, if we wanted to know all the parts or aspects of life directly, we would go to these parts or aspects themselves. If we wanted to know a sound directly, we wouldn't refer to indirect knowledge, such as an image of the bird. In order to know the direct experience of the sound, we would go to the sound itself. Similarly, if we wanted to know what honey tastes like, we wouldn't ask someone else or read a book about honey. We would want to experience honey directly. We wouldn't refer to the indirect knowledge of another person or a book. We would taste the honey, the direct experience for ourselves. So, without referring to a thought, image, or memory, what is a sound? What is that experience? And we'll want to attempt to isolate the sense of sound, not only from thought, images, or memory, but also from our other senses. What can we say about a sound without referring to thought, images, memory, or our other senses, namely sense of feeling? What is there to a sound without referring to indirect knowledge? Is there anything there at all? Can you even say, I am here and the sound is over there? without referring to a thought, image, or memory. Can you even say, I am the sound, or I am not the sound, without referring to a thought, image, or memory? Notice just how much thought, images, and memory add to our direct experience of something. Which is relatively innocent in the example of the bird, but may not always be the case. Can you even say, I am here and the sound is over there, without referring to a thought, image, or memory? Can you even say, I am not the sound, or I am the sound, without referring to a thought, image, or memory? What can we really know about the sound? What can we really say about it, other than I am? Not I am the sound, but just I am, or I know, or I'm aware. Notice how much our thoughts, images, and memory add to our unadulterated, direct experience of the sense of sound, of our life. Notice the boundarylessness of infinity here. within the objects of our experience. Once we dive deep enough into it, as we've done. Similarly to the infinite boundarylessness of our experience when we pulled away from the objects earlier. Notice that at both ends of the spectrum, there is the infinite. There is the peace. There is the divine. Now let's explore one more of our senses in this way. Let's take a look at the sense of sight. But because our eyes are closed, we'll have to imagine it. So bring up any image you like. It could even be the image of this moment. Whatever comes to you is fine. We want to know what life actually is. We wouldn't refer to indirect knowledge of it. We would go to life itself. We would go to direct experience. So, instead of referring to the indirect knowledge of a thought, to know about whatever the images that you see, go to the direct experience of it. Because we're wanting no experience directly, we're going to isolate the sense of sight and not refer to the other senses to know about what we see. So without referring to the indirect knowledge of a thought, what is really there? Similarly, without referring to the indirect knowledge of an image, to know the direct experience of what you see. What is really there? Using only the sense of sight, isolating the sense of sight to really know about life, to really know this thing we're a part of. What is really there? Without referring to the indirect knowledge of a thought, image, memory, or with the addition of other senses, what is really there in this image before you? Other than the knowing that it's there, can you say anything is there? Is anything there at all? Notice how these layers stack and, as such, create the way we experience our life. But outside of these stacked layers, what is really there? Is there anything there at all? Other than knowing, other than awareness, other than infinity, the divine. Is there anything there at all? Now ask yourself this last question. What do I most need to know moving forward? What would be most helpful for me to know moving forward? And allow your mind the space to either receive that answer or to formulate it. What would be most helpful for me to know moving forward? And when you're ready, we can begin to slowly allow who we are as awareness to filter back through our mind, our body, and the world. And allow it to reanimate what we had previously withdrawn our awareness from. And as you feel life come back online when you're ready, and only when you're ready, feel free to take in a deep breath and open your eyes. Welcome back, everyone. How did that go? I would love to hear if anyone has anything to share.